If you've struggled with stress, balance, or burnout, and simply feel discouraged or even defeated, and if you're ready to move from force to flow and enjoy ultimate Zen success in your career, health, or relationships, then the Zen Success Show is for you. Your host, Carissa Sims, is an entrepreneur, corporate consultant, best-selling author, meditation teacher, and healer who has found her own Zen success. Here's your host, Carissa Sims.
Welcome to this week's episode of Zen Success. Today, I have the pleasure of speaking with Pam Christian.
Hi.
Pam Christian is a mindset coach, motivational speaker, author, and influencer, and host of the Juice podcast. Pam's work encompasses helping her clients transform their lives by eliminating self-created barriers, maximizing their full potential, and dramatically increasing their effectiveness on both personal and professional levels. Pam's first book, I have it right here.
Me too.
Okay, great. I hope you're having a great day. I know I am. Recently won the coveted Reader's Choice Award. Pam's book is a journey into self-help before self-help was even a thing. Pam has become a highly sought-after social media influence whose mission is to help heal humanity by inspiring and motivating others to live their best lives. Prior to coaching, Pam built a successful career in real estate, where she was ranked among 100 most influential realtors in New Jersey, earning numerous prestigious awards for her leadership and business acumen. Welcome, Pam.
Thank you. Thank you for saying all that. It sounds so nice.
Yes, receive all the
Exactly.
accolades for you and your life and everything you've been through. Well, what was the inspiration behind writing this book?
So basically, it wasn't meant to be a book. That's not how I designed it. It wasn't like, I'm going to sit down, I want to write a book. It was more, I had a lot of stuff recycling and circulating inside of myself, and I needed somewhere to put it. So I started journaling, but not in a journal on my laptop or, whatever. And I started reading some of the things to some people that I'm very close with, and they were like, this is a book. And I got that in my head, but I was like, I'm just going to keep doing business as usual, writing. And over time, it evolved into something that not so much was like, oh, I can make this a book, but wait, this stuff can help people. And I want to help people, and I want people to feel better. And I also want people to know they're not alone. We don't talk about our struggles too often unless they're pretty basic struggles, because it's hard to be vulnerable. It's hard to let people know what you're going through, but we're all going through some version of it. So when I decided that I wanted to use it for something productive, useful, good for the world, is when I kind of decided, okay, it's going to be a book.
Oh, that's amazing. So when you first started writing, it was more of like personal healing, getting it out.
My parents had both just passed away unexpectedly, and my dad had passed, and then my mom, and I was kind of having a reality check with the world and life and what the meaning behind all of it was. And it wasn't intentionally, okay, I'm going to write and that's going to heal. But I was just like, I need to get this somewhere. So I wrote it, and it did heal.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry to hear about the passing of your parents. How long ago was that?
So my dad passed 2016, my mom passed 2017, and then a few years before COVID. And when we were heading into COVID is when I really started writing, because I was very close with my parents and I just couldn't figure out what was happening. Like, wait, they were young. They were young for that next stage of life. So where they were in that stage of life where it's your last stage of life, 70s and on, but they were in their early 70s and they were healthy. And I was I don't know if I would say depressed, but I was just lost. And so finding things to do that were self-care, nourishing, and helpful to me was like my number one priority. I had 3 kids that I had to take care of. They were in high school, middle school, and I'm a single parent. So I had to really get myself together. And so writing was part of that.
That's beautiful. I've heard that when someone loses both of their parents, it can feel unstabilizing. Like, who am I now that they're gone? So, my heart is with you. I also lost my father in 2017, and my mother's still alive and my stepdad. So I'm grateful.
That's nice. Yeah.
And
It
that's,
is that anchoring
yeah.
that you were talking about. There is no, you lose that anchoring, but, and I didn't mean to cut you off. Did I
Mhm.
cut
You're fine.
Okay.
It's a flow.
Okay. But what I was going to say is in our culture, we don't talk about death enough. We are afraid of death. And that's where I was. And I had this awakening about death. And I'm really trying, my kids are 23 and 20 now, talk more about it, understand more about it, let them know when the signs come to receive them from me. That will be me, not to second guess it. And so when it happened to me, and I say happened to me, but it didn't happen to me, it's just part of life. But we all live, we all,
Yes.
those are the two
The
truths.
circle of life, right?
Exactly. And having more acceptance to that and having that part of the dialogue while you're living. So when it happens, it's not such a shock to the system.
Yes, yeah, wonderful. Well, with the passing of my father, one of the things I was grateful for was he lived with us because he was diagnosed with cancer and he needed a place to stay while he got his treatment and everything. So there was a blessing in all of that, in that he got to know his grandchildren. So I do cherish those memories for the last
Absolutely.
few years of his death. Yeah.
Sure, they do too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it was wonderful. So, and I just think it's really amazing that you bring this up to your kids, that it's not taboo. And so, how were they feeling when their grandparents passed away?
I think there was a lot of confusion. And there was, again, a lot of destabilization. My parents, again, being a single parent, were very involved in their life and our lives. I think they were probably worried about me as well, again, being a single parent. So it's just me. And just a little bit of everything and nothing at the same time because they were so young. So they didn't know the fear and all of that. So it's a lot of confusion. But we've worked through it together and separately. And I was not afraid to cry in front of them, to talk about my parents in front of them, not only to keep their memory alive, but to show them grieving is a natural process of life. It's not one and done. I could wake up tomorrow and feel really down about having lost my parents. It ebbs and flows, and teaching them about that process and that it's okay, but also the development of another type of relationship with the deceased, if you allow that. So I am in touch with my parents. I am very close with my parents. In some ways, it's an easier relationship than it was because a lot of the stuff, the triggers for them and for me are gone. And not that we had a lot of triggers with each other, but just everyday life, their own stuff that they brought to the table. And so our relationship is very peaceful and easeful right now. They were huge supporters of this book.
Oh,
It's a very hard book for me to write and share with the world because it's very personal to my heart, but I'm also sharing things about them. And I couldn't have put it out there without their permission. So when I meditate, the downloads that I was getting. Oh, this book has been ready for a few years. I wasn't ready. I needed to make sure everyone in my living world, including myself, and in the non-physical world was okay with it. And so there are other relationships to be had.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And then tell me about the structure of the book. So you have a little bit of story and a little bit of self-help instruction.
So basically, each chapter, my life has definitely been colorful. And I think it's an interesting read because there's a lot going on in my life because I was not a quick learner with the lessons that the universe was giving me. And I had been through a lot. So I think the I want to say captivating. I don't know if that might be too strong of a word, but the interesting part people can relate to is my story. So each chapter is a little piece of what I went through, and at the end of each chapter, there's these tips and takeaways. Because I didn't want just a memoir that people could read and say, okay, well, like she went through this and she's doing great now and lucky her. but I also didn't want just self-help, which can get like boring, but also could feel unachievable. Like, okay, well, she has the tools and skills to do that, but I can't tap in. So I liked combining the two, and also just being really open with what I've been through, because as hard as that is for me to put out to the world, it's also necessary. We need that right now. People need that right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's almost like when I read your book, you're giving people permission to be vulnerable, to come out of the closet, to be transparent. So I felt like a lot of those themes when I was reading it.
And that was the goal, because we're all walking around and like maybe some person's trauma or difficulties, maybe it's not even trauma, it's just adversity, is different than mine, but it doesn't have to be the same thing for us to be going through similar things. And all of our nervous systems react differently to the things we're going through. So someone else who went through what I went through, maybe it wouldn't be a big deal. Maybe it would be an even bigger deal. And we're all the same. We're all part of this collective conscious. So when we allow each other the space and the non-judgment to share our own stories, there's a thread that gets weaved together that shows that we're all the same. We're all in this together. And that divisiveness or that separateness that has come over the years of hiding that stuff is actually hurting us, not helping us.
Yeah, good point. Good point. Well, and also congratulations on the award for your book, the Reader's Choice Award. How did that come about?
Someone kind of put me in I don't know what it was, but some award winning something. I don't even know. Someone did it for me. I didn't even know this was happening, and I just got an email about it. But I guess I was nominated. I couldn't think of the word. Sorry, I was nominated for a few different awards. I won a few others, but this was the one that was important to me because it's the Reader's Choice Award. So it's the people who are responding to it, and that's why I talk about that one.
That's wonderful. And I wanted to talk about one aspect of the book. I'm not sure if you feel comfortable sharing this excerpt, but what shifted for you when your sister found pictures from your past?
So I think, and to be honest with you, sometimes I am comfortable, sometimes I'm not. But what I've gotten to in my life is that this isn't about me. And it's not about my comfort level. I'm going to work through my stuff on my own if I am uncomfortable or don't like it, but I'm here to help. So just to address that, or to acknowledge your kindness in saying that. What shifted for me when my sister found the pictures, or at the time, as I called the evidence, was that I had a lot of self-doubt. And I felt like I no longer feel like you need to see it to believe it. I know now you need to believe it to see it in life and everything. But even though I knew, and like, who would be carrying the story with them at this point in their life? Because it was dismissed by so many people in my life, even when I brought it to them at a young age, I started to doubt myself. And I questioned myself, and you would never want to accuse someone or think someone would do something like this if it weren't true. And having that, it was like the universe gave me the tools I needed to now get to this point, which was, 20, 30 years ago then, to where I can share the story and help people. But I needed that at that time. So that was the shift, seeing the evidence, seeing, yes, this is true. Oh my gosh, this did happen to me. And this is horrible and this is heartbreaking, but I don't have to live in it anymore. I can rise up and rise through it.
I see. So in a way, you were able, with seeing that, you were able to set yourself free from it.
Sadly, it took that. I wish it did. And I wish that I had that I did have a lot of inner strength, but I had the noise of everything else dismissing it and all the other people missing it or dismissing it wasn't louder than my own conviction. But yes, that allowed me to I don't know I forget what word you used, but yes, it allowed me to shift through it. And I wish it, I don't like to go back and wish it were different, have regrets or anything like that. I just wish I had that in me, but this is what I needed at the time. And it, yes, set me free and allowed me to move to the next stage with it. Instead of sitting in it and wondering and hoping that it would come, like I'd have something to show me, I got it. And now, okay, now what's next? And it also allowed me to take it to court and to see what was going on with this person and to understand that there was more depth to this than even I knew.
Yeah, and just for our audience, if you haven't read the book, this is about the childhood sexual abuse that Pam suffered and the healing behind that. And so when you took it to court, what was the outcome? It wasn't that they didn't have any statutory timelines with that?
They did. So there were a lot of things that couldn't be done. But I think, I don't know if you know what Megan's Law is, but it's basically you have to identify yourself as a sexual predator. We were able to get that. But other than that,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, and you go into a database, which is so good, right?
Well, and it was so good for this situation because if you read the book, you'll see, and the book isn't just about this. This is just
No, it's not.
one
No.
piece of it. Yeah. And
Very fascinating, ups and downs. It's a beautiful story. It's not just about this. I'm just bringing up one aspect.
yeah, and I'm only saying that for the people listening because if you don't resonate with that, trust me, there's a lot of other things you'll resonate.
Yes.
But I guess it was when I found out that he had been doing this. There had been accusations. That's when I felt like, okay, I have to take a stance here for all the children who have been through this, but all the adults who are suffering in silence because they never were able to face their accusers. So I didn't even really care what the outcome was. Of course, I wanted some, not retribution, but something to make sure that it wasn't going to happen again, which you can never guarantee, but like as much as I could. And Megan's Law is that's good enough for me. And I feel like for Megan Kenka, who was the woman who was a girl who was abused and murdered, I'm also honoring her. But there was some culpability, and not because, listen, I have complete forgiveness for this human being. For me,
Yes.
I
Feel
feel,
that. That's
yeah,
so powerful.
to me, it's like, wow, what must have been going on for that person? What
Mhm.
what demons, what happened there? And so I do, but at the same time, I don't want him doing this to anyone else.
Hmm.
So I felt like I had to be a champion.
Yeah. You have compassion, but you also drew a line in the sand and was
Yeah.
like, okay, no more. Which I mean, that's empowering. Did you find it empowering?
I did. I found it empowering. I mean, it's a lot of different things because there's a lot of family dynamics, other people involved, and you want to be mindful of them. But at the end of the day, I know where my moral compass is, and I know that the universe, God, whatever you relate to, higher consciousness, put this into my life for a reason, and I'm here to create a new pathway for people going through this stuff. And so it was empowering in that way. It's so many different emotions, so many different things.
Yeah, well, that's just amazing. And any way you look at it, I mean, sexual abuse is so common. I was also sexually abused at 5, maybe a little bit earlier. And I went to my father about it. My parents were divorced at the time, and he dismissed it. I mean, I flat out told him, and he said, "Oh, that's nothing." And so, but as a little girl, you take that in, you know, and so the effects on me was I never told my mom because I thought it was nothing, because that's what he said, and so I just told my mom last year that this
Oh,
had happened, and anyway,
you
I
thought it
just.
was nothing, but it became everything. Your whole
Yes,
identity, even
exactly.
though you were told it was nothing, you told yourself it was nothing. Inside of yourself, it becomes everything. It's all consuming.
That's right. And because it's like it gets pushed down because it's nothing, he didn't want to hear about it. So I thought nobody would want to hear about it. And it's just interesting because I think coming out to my mom was healing because it was like a release and validation and all of that. I mean, it's like I didn't feel traumatized, but I will tell you how it affected me is that I was highly sexualized as a child. I was like, not, I didn't feel like normal wanting to like make out with my cousin and all these like other things.
Yeah.
The little girl. And I'm like, oh, okay, now I understand.
Right now you understand, but at that time it's so confusing. And you coming out to your mother and just saying now that that was healing. The other wonderfully healing part of that is that you were parenting that inner child that never got parented. You took care of that little
Oh,
girl.
beautiful. Thank you for seeing that in that situation. Mm.
That's a wonderful thing to do.
Yeah, and I didn't even realize it was something that it just like kind of came out of me. I think with my diagnosis of cancer and everything, I just like healing the past and things. But I want to hear more about your life growing up, like with your family in New Jersey and your siblings. How was that?
It was complicated. I had a like very, very loving family. My parents were so loving. My sister and I, we had our sibling things, but got along great. We had our stuff like any families have, but the complication came in because of the personalities that were involved, the traumas that they had endured that weren't being spoken about. First of all, I was so young, so they wouldn't be spoken about to me. But back at that time, you weren't dealing with that type of stuff. And if you were, it was very surface level. So there was so much love, but so much anger and emotional volatility, and also just trying to, survive and make their way in the world, my parents. But what I always come back to as an adult, and at this point, they missed the mark in a lot of ways, but in the one way they didn't is the one way that mattered. And I know and knew always how much they loved me, how much they cared about me, how much they wanted me to succeed. So even though they were missing the mark and they weren't seeing the signs, or they refused to see the signs, or they didn't want to see the signs, or they were so caught up in their own worlds and their own traumas, the love was there.
Yeah, that's beautiful. So, what was the gift in that? Did it help you to rely on your own instincts and awareness to survive?
I mean, I think yes, but for me, the gift in that is knowing that no matter what the people look like, and I don't mean physically look like, but whatever their stuff is, that I was supported. I had, like, when my parents passed, it's very, like we said, destabilizing to lose both parents. You're like an orphan. It's like you don't have that anchor. And even though there was so much chaos in my life, so much volatility, I knew I could always count on them. And having that as a backdrop is very important, because I have a lot of clients or just people in my world that I know that don't have that. And they might not have the chaos and the volatility, but they also don't have this place that they could always go to. I always knew I had people there for me, no matter
Mm,
what. So, like, that was the gift.
that's beautiful. Yeah, and so growing up, did you have to rely on yourself a lot and have awareness and have your own intuition and instincts? How did those
I
develop?
did, but I didn't listen a lot.
Ah,
So
okay.
I had them, and I had to, I see where we're going. And I had to, um, but I hadn't honed them in because I didn't trust myself, because like you, it was the important thing that was going on in my life, the very main thing, the one thing that I was trying to deal with, was dismissed. So it was like, okay, we'll help Pam with this and this and this, but that wasn't the thing I needed help with. So when someone is minimizing it or not even acknowledging it or allowing it to exist, you start to doubt yourself. You start to question yourself. That inner voice inside of you, that inner strength that's there, you can't, you, even if you tap into it, you don't feel connected to it, because someone bigger than you, stronger than you, more powerful than you, louder than you, is telling you that it's not true, that it's not right, that you're wrong. And until I was a little older, when I had moved to Manhattan, kind of found a little bit of my own way, did I really say to myself, I'm going to try listening to that voice. I'm going to see what that does for me. And I would listen, and then I wouldn't listen. And when I wouldn't listen, wow, the fall was, I never want to go back to those falls. And I think that's what happened. I got sick of being at rock bottom. I hit rock bottom lots of times, and I just got sick of being there. And I was like, I'm done with this. And then I had to slowly climb out of that well. I equate it to like a well that you fall down. Like if you saw the Goonies, remember when they fall
Yeah.
down the well? I'm down there. There's no ladder. There's no one outside like Josh Brolin trying to lift me up. So I had to lift myself up, and it's slippery and you can't get traction. And so that's kind of what my life looked like.
Mm. And then what shifted when you moved to New York? Like you said, you moved to Manhattan. For your family moved there because your father's work, correct?
Yeah, and I think there were a few things. There was a reinvention. So I had this opportunity to start over. And even though I did start over and it went well for me, I still made lots of mistakes. I did not have the tools. I did not have the resources that I could tap into because I was still a shell of myself and I was empty. So I had to start to fill myself up. And I didn't even know consciously that I was doing it at the time, but I was doing it. And just by, you live in Manhattan. I was 10 years old. I was taking the bus and the train by myself and learning to be independent. Those skills give you confidence. I mean, I wouldn't be having my own kids do that today. And that's why we don't live in the city personally, but
Right.
it actually wound up being good for me. And it was a different time also.
It was acceptable back then.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And there were positives to it that
Mhm.
the people to like my kids' age today don't have. And because we saw the other side of it, so we were like, no, 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 no. And obviously having gone through what I went through, I knew I'm a protective parent. They know it. They know what I went through. So they were aware that I might be a little more protective than other parents. And that was something that I struggled with. But I was very communicative with them about it. So they didn't let that become their fears and their stuff.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. And then, so tell me about the journey of your ex-husband. You and Brian, you met, fell in love, had a beautiful wedding. I'd love to hear about that.
I mean, I was on cloud 9,000. Like it was great. Meeting him was wonderful. I like have only beautiful things to say. He came into my life at a time where I really needed him. He was in my life when I found the photos and was so supportive and held me in a way where like holding space really for someone really transforms them. And I like to think that I did the same for him with what his stuff was. And it was magical. It was the 90s and things were booming and things were flowing. And whether the world was in a good place underneath or not, on the surface it was. So it was a really fun time to be in the city. He was on Wall Street. That was fun. And just we really connected on a really deep level. And it was a great time in my life. The wedding was beautiful. We went all out for it. It was magical. And I was treated like, in some ways, I'm like, oh my gosh, I was treated like it was princess. It was amazing. In other ways, I'm like, none of us really need that type of stuff in life. Like at the time, I didn't know it because it was all I knew. That was the normal to me. I don't
Yeah.
know. Which is crazy because now I would have zero interest in any of that.
Mm.
But it was what I was raised with. So it was my world. It was what I knew. But it was fun. It was great. Until it wasn't. And when it wasn't that it was so awful like some people experience, but it just wasn't anymore. And that's
Mm.
sad. That's a huge loss.
Yeah, because right, so you're talking about the journey of your relationship. So, and there was a point after you had children where you realized that it wasn't meant to be, and you both talked about that.
Yeah, and something shifted and we talked about it. I was very mindful and purposeful about everyone involved. Obviously, I'm sure I hurt people involved, didn't mean to. As mindful and purposeful as I was, you're still going through a divorce. You're still realizing your whole life is changing to something that you thought it wasn't going to be, from what you thought it was going to be to something you thought it wasn't. And it's not something that I necessarily wanted. I had the white picket fence in my mind. I was lulled into this whole false sense of reality. I had no idea what was coming my way. And I thought I got through my stuff, but clearly I didn't. And I wanted to work through whatever we were going through, me, him, and my children, in the best way that I could, given where I was at the time. And so that included, consulting with therapists or coaches, or I remember voraciously reading self-help books on how to, before Gwyneth Paltrow made consciously uncoupling popular. That's what I was trying to do. That's what we were trying to do. And I think we did
Yeah.
our best job. There's always some collateral damage in these types of things, but I think we did the best we possibly could have.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And then how was it in that transition of the divorce to being a single mom? And you also had your own business, correct? Is that
Yeah.
real estate agent?
So when I look back now, I'm like, holy
Great job.
cow. Exactly. And I like to give that to myself. And I hope all of your listeners and your audience give that to themselves too, because we forget along the way to do that. And I definitely did. And it was business as usual. This is just what everyone does. This is what you do when you're going through things, and this is life. But as I look back and reflect at this stage in my life on all that I've accomplished, and I don't mean business wise or any of that external success, I just mean what I've done. I'm pretty proud of myself. I was that little girl who went through all that to who I am now. I'm a pretty good person. I try to be the best person I can be. I try to make sure, whether it's my kid's dad, my kids, family, whoever, I show up for them the best I can in the capacity that they'll allow me to. It was hard. It was hard. And now that I'm sitting back and giving myself time to reflect on it, I mean, I don't know how I did it, but I did it, and you do it. And that's something that my parents imparted in me, not for the divorce necessarily or anything else, but just in life. You have grit, you grind, you work through things. You don't let them knock you down. You get back up and you try again and you keep trying. So, I mean, it was hard. It was hard navigating everything. My kids were really, really understanding that my work was something that was with us. It was a part of our family. So it was another member of our family. So if I'm in the car and a client calls, okay, one of our kids is talking, everyone else has to be quiet. And they understood that. And my kids are beautiful, beautiful human beings. And they were always able to work with me. We talked, we communicated, I explained how it had to be. They didn't always like it, and they are not perfect, and they had their tantrums and their blow-ups and all their stuff, but somewhere deep down they had this grounding and centeredness that they understood that this is how it's going to be, and we got to get on board. And so we were a team, and we are a team, and they're amazing.
That's wonderful. Well, I'm divorced too, and I have two kids. And one of the things that really stood out for me is that your love for your ex, like I could just feel it when I was reading the book. And then you also brought them dinner when you didn't have the kids. I
Oh
was
yeah.
like, oh, I never did that.
Well, a few things. One, that's what I had been doing. So I didn't want everything to change so drastically, but I think people forget that they once loved this person. And
Yeah.
I don't even call him my ex. He's my former spouse or my kid's dad, because I find ex has
Yeah.
such a charged connotation to it. So it's very hard for
Yeah.
me to, I don't feel
Thank
that
you
way.
for saying that. It does resonate higher to say their dad or right.
Yes, and people think I know people think they make fun of me when I do it, but I don't even care, because saying X it's hard on my heart. So I'm sticking with what works for me. But I would have done anything and everything I could, not only to make the transition seamless, but also I didn't hate him. I mean, we obviously had things that we didn't like about each other and conflict going through such a difficult separation, but I wish the best for him. And he knows that I only want the best for him. He's a good guy. Like it just didn't work. And it wasn't working anymore. It wasn't working for us as a family. It wasn't working for him and I, but that doesn't mean you have to go from loving someone to hating someone. And just
Hmm.
because and I'm not saying he did this, but I'm more talking to people out there, just because the other person is showing up a certain way that maybe you don't like, that doesn't mean you have to be combative and show up that way. Also,
Hmm.
you can choose to show up the way you want to show up. And over time, that person is going to model that behavior, because it's a lot easier. It's a lot lighter. It's a higher frequency. It's a nicer vibration than you going down to that level of anger, fear, and all those emotions that go along with what we're going through.
Yeah. And I'm going to make a bold statement here, and I think we'll see if you agree with me that when you have that compassion and love for someone, regardless of how they're acting, that is a portal for peace and peace on this planet if we can be that agent for that.
And I think it's a beautiful statement more than a bold one. And it's absolutely true because it goes back to the collective consciousness and how are we not only impacting ourselves, but everyone around us. And so a lot of times I think, okay, I'm going to meet someone in the street. They're in a bad mood. Maybe they were like just got cut off and have a little road rage. Now, if I go smile at them and kind of lighten them up a little, all the people that they meet after that are going to have a little bit easier time because of them. If they go in with that road rage, then all of the people are going to be impacted by that. How do we want to impact? How do we want to affect people? And that portal for peace comes from before it's about loving that former spouse or whoever else that you're not in simpatico with anymore. It's loving yourself.
Mm.
You can't be loving to the other people until you start loving here. This is the most important place to love. I know we're taught it's not, and it's like about out there and everything else. All of that can come when this happens.
Yeah, that's so true. That is so true. And it's easy to forget because you see other people and you think love them first. But yeah, I had to learn that self-love with my cancer journey. So sometimes you have to learn it the hard way, but it's really I embody it now.
That's so beautiful. And the thing that you're saying is like, yes, it's love them first, but that love is still surface love. It's you can give it
Mm.
to them, but it's not the depths of what it is when you are. And like you said, you embody love. Everything is love. Anything but love is fear. So where do we want to be living? Our egos get in the way, all this other stuff gets in the way, which is why we want to start doing the work. And I think the tips and tools in this book, they're basic, they're practical, they're baby steps, they're easy, they're not these big hard things. They're bite-sized pieces, so you can just take it one step at a time.
Yeah. Well, how did following your instincts and intuition become methods for your success in real estate and as a mom?
So first of all, it's tapping in and tuning into them. So you really have to get to know that voice because sometimes we have voices that we think are our intuition. And sometimes you have to go with that voice to see, oh, wait, that's not what my intuition looks like. That isn't
Mm,
that inner voice. That's my ego. That's my fear. That's this. That's the other thing.
past
So,
patterns or
yeah, exactly. So sometimes you have to test it out and play with it to learn what it is. For me, I know the difference now because I've been doing it for so long. And the only thing I follow is the depth of my soul. I know the difference between the depth of my soul speaking to me, my heart speaking to me, and the noise of my head, the soundtrack. And if it's like the patterns, the programming and the soundtrack, I just take a step back. And usually I don't make decisions for a couple of days and I sit with it. And if the same thing keeps coming up for me, and it's from a place of comfort and peace and ease, I know that's the answer. If there's any emotional anything dysregulation, and it could be emotional dysregulation like really excited, it doesn't have to be bad emotional dysregulation. It's more everything is ease and calm when you're making a decision that's connected to your inner voice and your intuition. And everyone's intuition is different. Some people sounds like a loud voice. Some people sounds like a quiet voice. Some people's it's not a voice, it's a knowing. Getting to know yourself.
Mm. Yeah, wonderful. And then so you were able to build a successful real estate business and you had a business partner. Was that helpful in being a single mom?
At the beginning, I only had that partner for a year or two.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. That was in
But
your
it was
book.
my kids were my daughter was 1 and my boys were 3.5. So at that time, and that person also had young kids, and our kids were friends or whatever you call that at that age,
Yeah,
playmates. And
Playmate.
so it was really helpful. It also gave me certain confidence and a certain backing because I was going to a new industry, which by the way, my kids dad is the one who got me into that industry, and not got
Oh,
me,
cool.
but
Yeah,
suggested
inspired
I would
you.
do good. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it was great having a partner, and then it was really great doing it on my own. But there was like a little bit of a fear of doing it on my own, and then I started doing really well, and then I got more fearful when I started doing well because
Oh,
I had to step up a certain amount, and I wasn't sure if I could maintain that next level. So there's fear of success for people as much as there's fear of failure.
so how did you break through? Did you have awareness that you had some fear around your success?
Over time, I did, because I wasn't pulling the trigger on certain things and I was sabotaging myself, and I was trying to understand why, and I was working through it. And I should say, when you, going back to the other question, which will tie into this, about how your intuition and your
Mhm. Your
inner voice
instinct.
helped with your, yeah, and your instinct with your success. I meditate. And
Mhm.
I meditate a lot. And I didn't meditate for a long time, but I started in my early 30s. And that also helped me with my self-sabotaging. It helped me with my fear. It helped me with my fear of failure. It helped me with my fear of success. And sitting in that quiet space, I know it's brutal, especially at the beginning, but over time, that becomes the place where all your answers come, and that connection with that deeper part of yourself, that all-knowing part of yourself is. And I just highly recommend it.
Yeah, I meditate as well. I love meditating. I do it in the morning and before I go to bed. And so I just feel like there's something really profound in what you said, in that sometimes people can fear success. And I think having that awareness is so key. That you may be self-sabotaging, or how are you limiting yourself to keep that barrier? And it could be, do you think it could have been from growing up and seeing your father successful, or what do you think was tied into that fear?
I mean, I had really, I think maybe that, but also my family had high expectations. You
Oh, okay.
couldn't, everything was about being a perfectionist, doing it right, not making mistakes, not
Mm.
screwing up. So there was a lot of pressure. And I know from my parents, and this isn't me like making excuses or anything like that, that they thought that was the path. They really thought, and it was in a lot of ways, because I'm pretty polished. My customer service is white glove, top notch, and I'm so glad I got that. Like, if they weren't like that, I wouldn't have that. But there's also the side of it that becomes paralyzing and not destabilizing, but like analysis paralysis, and you can't move forward because you're afraid you're going to make a mistake. So I think it came more from that than my dad's success or my
Oh,
anything else. I think it just came from the expectations.
I see. I see. Yeah. But there was a gift in that too, because then they
Absolutely.
had the perfectionist in you, but then sometimes it could have been stressful.
And then the gift also is they believed in me. They thought I could meet those expectations. And if someone, it's, you want to rise to that occasion. And if someone believes in you, it's like, okay, they see something in me. There's that potential.
Yeah.
So
So,
it's more of a gift than not.
oh yeah, that's amazing. So as a coach, how do you inspire others to make changes in their life for maximum impact?
So I think, like, I would say the first thing I do is I create a safe space for people to feel like they can be themselves. Because if we're not having true, deep, real conversations, they may get that success, but it's going to be temporary, because what we need to do is we need to unwire and rewire. We have so many messages that we take in. There's this expression, it's called absorb. I'm sorry, observe, don't absorb. Most of us are absorbing everything from the external world, and all of a sudden we're on this frequency, this radio station in our head that's telling us all the things the outer world's telling us. And really where we need to tune into is, what is our inner self telling us? But we can only do that when we work through the wiring that we've created, and unwire and rewire. I go back to that a lot. And so that's changing neurotransmitters. That's looking at our stuff, our triggers, our things that are holding us back, understanding where they come from. And then you've mentioned something over and over again that I'm glad we're going to get to: having awareness. The first step to any sort of change is awareness. So when I create that safe space, we start talking and opening up together, because we're a team. It's not just about them. I'm here with them. We're partners in this. When we start doing that, and they're feeling safe in it, we can really go in there, see what's happening, see where we short-circuited, see where the stagnation happened, kind of reestablish new wiring, new neurotransmitters, all that stuff. And all of a sudden their healing's happening and they're feeling better. So they're standing a little taller, they're walking a little taller, they're feeling like they can do this. And then all of a sudden they're doing it. And that is a simplified way of explaining it. It's much more intricate, but just to give the basics of it. It's like the most amazing thing to watch.
Right. No, I understand. There's more to it, and I'm sure it's personalized for
Exactly.
every person. Yeah.
But that's an overarching explanation. And the thing is, it's like, we don't need to feel the way we're feeling. Most people aren't feeling great. Maybe they're not feeling terrible, horrible, bad, but they're not feeling great. And we don't need to feel that way, but we need to go through some past wounds, past things to get to that new place so that we can go back to them. I think of it like a cut. You have this cut and you put a Band-Aid over it, and all of a sudden there's a scab, but the infection never went away. So we want to take the Band-Aid off. We actually want to take the scab off. We want to start putting some healing ointments in it. That means us talking about it. That's the healing ointments, us loving on ourselves, me loving on you, us understanding ourselves, us giving ourselves compassion. Okay, now the scab can form. And now that wound is truly healed. Before it wasn't healed. It was healed with an infection in it. And that's what it's all about.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting analogy. What is Zen success to you?
I mean, that's a great question. Success to me is inner peace, and Zen success is definitely inner peace. So whatever is inner peace for you, because success looks different for everyone. And for me, it's the external success comes when the internal is in alignment, in balance, and the internal is in alignment and in balance when we're at peace with ourselves, with the world around us, with our inner ecosystem. And that's Zen success to me.
Thank you. And what's next for you, Pam?
Oh, wow. What isn't next for me? I have a lot of things going on, but I'll be
20
honest.
things, I think. You could just
Exactly.
summarize.
Honestly, I'm not even going to say any, because what I like to do is watch it all unfold in front of me. I don't know what the next things are, but I'm going to trust my intuition, go with my gut, and let it unfold. And hopefully you'll be a part of it.
Oh, thank you. That's so sweet. Well, it's been a pleasure connecting with you and just going deeper into your story. I'll put your website and how to order your book. I hope you're having a great day. I know I am. I'll put that in the show notes. And thanks for being on my show today again.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me again. Thank you so much. Also, my website's under construction, but it will be up and running very soon. But if you can't find me there, go on to my Instagram at Pam Christian with 2 N's, and you can find my book there. And thank you so much for doing this for the world and being this host of probably all these amazing people that you're bringing into other people's consciousness. It's a beautiful thing. And I'm sure I'm not alone in saying I'm grateful for you.
Thank you so much, Pam.
That's it for today's episode of Zen Success. Head on over to iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, or wherever you listen to shows. Subscribe to the show and share with friends. Be sure to head on over to ZenSuccessShow.com to help you on your Zen success journey. And join us on the next episode. May you find your own Zen success in life.